I'm alive. How's it going?
We're live.
I'm alive. Yes.
Yeah, really.
No glitches. So that's perfect. Yeah. Nice to see you, Paul. Anyway.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Yeah. First things first. Shout out to everybody who's joining us on the live stream. And basically, Jay's gone away for the weekend with his family. And Ross has been called away. So it was 4 of us. But now it's 2. But I'm sure we'll be able to manage it. So yeah, really looking forward to the stream. First one I've done for a while now. So if any of you guys want to say anything, join in and, in the content and stuff, then by all means, let us know what you want to talk about. And, the score, we just go on from there. So yeah, like I said, thanks for joining in. And yeah, we'll move it straight on to you, Paul. So how's things with you, mate?
Yeah, I'm really good. I had quite a busy week with the tank. I've been in quite a bit of fragging. So fragged the frog spawn. Sold quite a few pieces of that already. That was good. And I fragged it because it basically fell off. So it was on a ledge, and I think the clowns have been hosting it, and they've killed off a couple of the heads, and basically they knocked it over. And it's such a big piece. I didn't want to put it back and just let the clowns carry on hosting it and killing it. So so I've carved that up.
Yeah.
Cup a few chalice as well, and also some SPS. And what I thought I might do, Steve, if it's all right with you, is I'll walk downstairs because I'm upstairs at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'll do a tour of one of the tanks that's got the frog spawn in it.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. That definitely. So I don't think we've ever done that, have we? Have we ever seen?
No. So I've also got Apex in the garage now. So I'm hoping, because I've got Apex out there and I've got a Wi-Fi extender. It might be an upgrade from Mackie D. So I'm hoping I can go into the garage. I can switch onto the Wi-Fi there, and it won't be the usual quality that I used to get when I was downstairs in the dining room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what I'll do.
Yeah.
So if you want to pull the other camera in, and I'll walk downstairs and see if we can get this working.
Absolutely.
So can you see the other one backstage?
I can see it. Yeah. Just waiting for you to go live on it. So.
All right, mate. Yeah. So I'll go downstairs. Give me 30 seconds. And it's
no
either going to fall over on my arse badly or it's going to work. Right, 1 minute.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so what Paul's going to do, guys, is he's like he just said, he's going to be showing us a bit of his tank. Don't think we've ever done it like this. I mean, I think I did try it with my phone, and it was I think it blew the ears off everybody else. So I never did it since. You know me and computers with this sort of stuff. It's I'm not the best, but yeah, like I said, just the 2 of us. But any of you want to leave any comments or want to talk about anything, then obviously we're good to go with that. It's quite difficult, especially when you plan something and then it doesn't go 100%. I'm gonna log on to Paul now, so we'll see when he gets the reception. Hopefully he'll get it.
Right, Steve, can you see that?
I can't see a picture, mate.
You can't see.
No, there's no picture. No.
Right. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Coming up.
Is that all right?
Yeah, something's coming. Yeah, I can see a stream now, mate. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and mute the other camera because all you can hear is the family in the background. So I'll leave that one. I'll leave that one there, and I'll go run upstairs.
No problem. Which trying our best with all this. This technology is crazy. I'm hopeless with technology. But let's have a read of some of the comments. If anybody's putting anything, Black Pearl's joining in. Nice to see you, Black Pearl. Paul's been out and bought a new Lacoste t-shirt. Just get out to the Levi's shirt. Yeah, exactly, mate. I've got tons of Levi's, but I've got to admit, I do like Lacoste. Mike Butler's in the house. Robert Wright's in the house. Jamie Q is in the house.
Right, I'm back, Steve. Can you see it all right?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah, can do.
Yeah,
So this is the...
What I'll do now, Paul, is I'll put it on full screen so people can see.
Yeah, and if there's any comments or you've got anything to say, then or someone don't like anything or you got anything that can be improved on, then give it to me straight. I don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see. Yeah, go ahead, Paul. It's,
Okay, so this is the DD Reef Pro 900. So it's 3 foot. And it's a tank I really, really like. Had it set out since February. And I said earlier on, there's some frog spawn that they're fragged there. So you can see those in the middle, Steve, there. Is that coming through okay?
Yeah. It's just a bit slow, but I can hear you, and it's just like, like a bit static. But yeah, we can see. We can see it.
Yeah. So as I say, I've been fragging some frog spawn.
Yeah.
So there in the picture. There you go.
Yeah.
So that's an avatar chalice there in the middle of the picture.
Got you. Yeah.
And then got some Picasso clowns there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a bit laggy, that's all, Paul. But we can.
Is it?
Yeah, we can definitely see. We can see the situation of it. Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
So what's lagging? Is it the voice or the picture?
No, the picture.
Right.
Yeah. So
can you see it all right? Should I stop it or carry on?
No, I can see it, mate. We can see it.
Yeah, mate. So some candy canes there. Now the only problem I've got with the tank at the moment, I've got quite a bit of bubble algae, which you may or may not be able to see in there. So I've been cleaning it up a bit.
Yeah.
So anyone's got any suggestions for bubble algae? So I've got a bit of Can you see it, Steve? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we can see it, mate. Yeah.
So there's that's a piece of undata there, and it's got some bubble algae on it. So I need to get that sorted.
Yeah.
And then we've got a big old piece of chalice there. Not too sure what that is. That's it's blue with pink eyes.
Yeah.
So someone's just said get it full on screen.
I'm trying my best, mate, but it's not doing it.
All right, mate.
I'm trying my best. I am trying my best to finger it, but it's just doesn't seem to be wanting it to go in on it. I'm gonna do it this way and see.
Okay. So hopefully people can see that a bit better now. So there's avatar chalice there. Got some Superman mushrooms there. Got a massive space in the middle here. But I just need to fill up the coal, and I've just kept it nice and easy. It's got mostly frags in it at the moment. And then as for lights, I've got 2 XR15s there, and it's hybrid. So I've got 2 T5s this side, and I've got 2 T5s that side. It's just beginning to ramp down at the moment. And then if we go down to the sump, it's the first time I've run a refugium. And it took ages for the refugium to kick off. Took about 6 months for it to actually start growing out. Got the clarity over the back there, and that really helps. It was too clean to begin with. And then I've got a Deltec skimmer that I probably only empty every 2 to 3 weeks because it's quite clean. But I would definitely recommend, that's a Tunzi algae light there. That works really well.
Yeah, Paul, this is just on a black screen now, mate.
You are?
It's just on a black screen.
Is it? Right, yeah. I'll go back up because obviously it's not working.
No. Yeah, it's not working. Can anybody else hear me? Don't know what's going on here. Yeah, it's just I don't know what's going on with it. It doesn't seem to be Can anybody else hear me? Paul?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me, Steve?
Can you hear me, mate? Yeah. I really don't know what's going on with this now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
But I don't know whether people can see us. Can people see us in this stream? Because your screen, I expanded it, yeah, and it just went on a black screen. We could hear your voice, but it was just pitch darkness. You know what I mean? Like the street, like it wasn't coming through. We could hear you, but couldn't see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Strange.
Right, saying yeah, can see and hear now, so you obviously can hear us. So sorry about that. Obviously, that was the Mackie D Wi-Fi from downstairs. I thought it might work, but it didn't.
Sorry, guys. I mean, you know, we all know what this Wi-Fi business is like. It's just freaking insane, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like it either works or it doesn't. You know what I mean? It's just yeah, it's crazy. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
glad that we can all be here and seeing, that's for sure. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
So other than the few nice colours we did see down there, Paul, anything else going on?
Yeah, so what I was going to say, when I done the fragging, because I had a couple of people ask me the other day via Instagram about what I use for fragging, and I use all different kind of things. So this would be familiar for quite a few people. So I use these for LPS. I did start using a Dremel.
Oh,
But I just couldn't get on with it. I just found it really difficult to use, and I just find these are a lot easier just to do a clean cut. So I'd use that, and then when I cut chalice, I use scissors. So these are just some scissors I got from with a coral set, and I find with chalice just to use scissors, it's just a lot easier to do it, because I find with chalice if you tear the chalice, it tends to go white and it just bleaches. But if you can get a clean cut, so I found when I first started, I was using these to using that to cut it, and it just didn't reel. And then I'm using these a lot better. Yeah, Black Pearl Reef. Now it's a proper Dremel, but it might just as well have been a cheap knockoff, because for the use it did for me, it was just rubbish. And then what I use for Zoas, I use a knife. So I use a knife just to ease it off the frag plug, and then that works pretty well. So it'd be interesting if anyone uses anything different to frag, because you frag some stuff, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with. I've got a Dremel and stuff, and I do use the Dremel, you know, for my candy canes and for you know for the skeleton, and then obviously for the candy canes and for the what's it called, the Duncans and stuff like that. And then obviously, like when I'm actually putting my hand in the tank, I'm not going to put the Dremel in the tank to cut it.
Clearly not. No.
So I snap the Dremel, not the Dremel. Sorry, I snap the like Styloporter and the Guitartus and the Setopia, all that sort of stuff. The SPS. I just snap them with a pair of the equivalent of garden shears. You know, the little ones what you get out of the you know, for pruning your roses. That's what I actually use. Just snip it, and it seems to work. And then I rinse them under the normal water, under the tap, and they're good to go. Do you know what I mean? So that's all I use.
Yeah. Someone said in there, I think it was Jamie Q, do I use the diamond blade? Yeah, I got the diamond disc on it, but I don't know if I've got a too small a blade, because when you're looking at quite thick stuff, if you've got quite a narrow, I suppose a small diameter, it's quite hard to cut it through in one go. I must admit, I found these a lot easier, just personal preference. I just find it's a lot easier to use, Steve. Obviously, you can do it underwater as well. But and also I found with LPS definitely. I know you have to be quite careful, but you can snip and tuck and shave bits off and touch wood. They're really good. So they're not, I don't know, like shrinking violets or anything like that. So they're pretty good.
Exactly.
So that's on that side. Do you frag Zoas at all?
I do, mate. Yeah, I do. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to actually start fragging. You know that one that I had in my nano tank, the one, the Zoa Rock. Yeah, I'm actually going to start fragging some of them anyway. So I've got some pink diamonds.
Yeah.
I've got some of the rasters. I've got some pink. What they call it? Not the Cadillac ones, is it? The what they call it? Oh, pink zippers.
Yeah.
I've got some. So yeah. So I've got a fair few that I'm going to be cutting. But like you said, with Zoas, they just like weeds, aren't they? They just grow, and when they stick on the rock, they're a lot harder to take off. So that's why you've got to have a rock. That's why you got to have a rock that's separate from your other, from the stuff that you cannot take out. So if you've got a big archway, say, you're not going to take that out. You know what I mean? So I just got mine mainly on little islands, little rocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So do you actually, if you can't take the rock out of the water, do you actually frag them at all?
No.
So this is what I use. I use this. I cut along one side.
Underwater.
And then, underwater.
Oh no.
And then so I cut it, and then what I do is just ease it off. And quite often, if you get underneath it, you can then cut it from underneath it, and then you cut around it, and you can pull them out. It's a real pain. It's a right pain in the what's it to do, but I find a knife is a lot easier. Obviously, a lot easier if you can take the rock out of the water, but just by using something like that, it's not quite a scalpel, but it's really sharp.
But I thought like they release a toxin, so I thought if you cut it under the water, wouldn't it release some sort of toxin in it? Under the water, because they release toxins, don't they? Paleofollin and stuff like they're the worst ones, aren't they? They can kill you. You know what I mean? So so I always thought like if you used them under the water, that they would release the moment you start to slice. It's like it's a defense mechanism. So I thought they'd release some sort of like toxic poison into the system. Do you know what I mean?
I'd have to research. I don't know. I mean, I must admit, when I do it, I have the patio door open. It's well ventilated, and I don't do much at a time. I'll only cut one at a time, so I won't go to town on it. Does it release it into the tank? I don't know. I thought that was where people had taken them out of the tank, and they'd cut them out. So if I take it out of the tank, I'll get a little pot of water, and I will cut them in the pot of water underwater. So the reason why I do that is if they squirt, it doesn't come out of the water. So I'll probably have a pot that might be about 6 inches, 7 inches deep. I'll put them in there, and then I'll slice and dice them in there. And touch wood, I've never had a problem. But again, when I do it, I won't do it in a confined space. I'll do it with the door open, and there's plenty of ventilation, and then they'll get glued and go back in another tank. I mean, it's a fair point around if you do it underwater, do they release the toxins? I wouldn't do loads at a time. Whenever I frag zoas, I do not more than maybe 1 or 2 colonies at a time, and that's it. On that basis, if I do loads and loads and loads, if it releases it, you never know what's going to happen. I may be being overcautious. I mean, I don't wear goggles, but I know they say wear goggles, so I've got glasses anyway. And because you do it under the water, I feel a bit more protected about it. I've never seen them squirt. Ones I have seen squirt is mushrooms.
Right.
If you ever take, I've got a tank full of mushrooms. If you take those out, they have a tendency to squirt quite a bit.
Right.
So, but I'm forever throwing mushrooms away.
I've got this question here from Michael. He says, guys, I got one for you. Last Saturday, you worked. Up to 4 fish were missing. They wasn't on the floor or in the sump. They were found half eaten. One was a bicolor blenny, dotty back. Other fish, okay, have in there now. Coral beauty, 6-line bass, and 2 clownfish. So I'm assuming is he asking like if there's any of them that would have killed them, I suppose. But listen, not in my experience. There's no way like a 6-line bass, coral. A coral beauty. The only thing maybe is if your clownfish are aggressive sort, like my clownfish. When I had my little damsels in the tank, the little, the yellow-tailed damsels in the tank, they basically my clownfish basically ate them. Like they literally ate them. I remember my missus, she phoned me at work and said, the fish has got no tail. And I'm like, what do you mean the fish has got no tail? And the clownfish was basically eating it alive. Do you know what I mean? So, but four of them 4 fish missing. I can't see them attacking that, to be truthful. I mean, there is also predators in your tank, depending on how mature. Like, I've seen bristle worms the size of a foot long, you know what I mean? The huge, and if a fish is ill, sick, anything like that, then there's no doubt that a bristle worm would attack that, and it would take it, you know what I mean? But to have 4 fish ill and to maybe at the same time and then go missing, I really don't know. I don't think that would be the case. So, and if it was like some sort of like parasite, like ick or marine velvet or something like that, then all the fish would have it. It's not just the 4. So
yeah, so it could be they're under stress.
Yeah.
As you say, clowns are really, really aggressive. If it was sick, then if it was lying on the sand or hidden anywhere, then actually you would find, as you say, cleanup crew would be all over it. If you got any shrimps, I've seen other fish attack other fish. Have I seen fish eat other fish? No, it's not to say I haven't. I just haven't. I haven't seen it. I mean, touch wood, I haven't lost any fish in 3 years, but then I haven't added any fish for that period of time. So I've got quite a good balance to it. So as you say, bristle worms, the cleanup crew and other stuff in the tank would destroy a dead fish in no time, because it's just a massive lunch for them, isn't it?
Cool. Well, when I had my my blenny in my tank, obviously, basically what happened was, I think it must have been ill because it got sucked into the pump. You know what I mean? And then I thought to myself, I'd take it out, and I just totally forgot. I was being lazy really, and I totally forgot. And then the next day, I totally remembered. Then I thought, oh my god, I left my blenny in, so I was looking for it because I switched the pump off. I left my blenny, and I was like, I better see it. And all I found was the skull, the little tiny skull of it. It had like been stripped within 1 day. You know what I mean? The whole thing had gone. So at that time though, I did have a hell of a lot of bristle worms in the tank. I did mention it in one of my videos, and I was like, I'm getting stressed, so I made my own bristle worm trap out of a Coke bottle, and I did it that way. You know what I mean? I put a little piece of shrimp, cut it, and then turned it the opposite way, the head of it, cut it off, and then taped it, and then basically they crawled in and they couldn't get out. But yeah, it was. But I did have tons and tons and tons, so I'm assuming that they have. But like you said, snails and any sort of like cleanup crew. That's the reason why they call cleanup crew, innit? You know what I mean? They go around and they clean. You know what I mean? After
but also it's good because if you've got 2 or 3 fish there that are dead, if they rot, depending on the size of the tank and the size of the fish, they could then break down and release ammonia into that. Where some people have lost quite a few fish or not so many, but in a small tank, you hear about people triggering a cycle, getting ammonia. But if you've got the cleanup crew that are cleaning up, then obviously that's really helpful. As for bristle worms, I used to have loads of bristle worms in the tank until I put wrasse and damsels in, and they just ran wrasse and damsels because they wrasse just peck at the sand and everything all the time. I hardly ever see a bristle worm now, so I suspect the wrasse have finished them off because they're pretty good at doing things like that. But just coming back to some of the comments here around pallies being worse, definitely. I think on zoas, I mean, I don't know how bad it is. I know Reef King was saying it's, he's done, was it 40 zoas last week? I don't know what the truth is, in all honesty. Is it as bad, or do you just get some horror stories because people have been complete burks and done stuff that they shouldn't have done? And, we talked before about people boiling rock and stuff like that, which releases a lot of stuff. So you do see people do some funny things. And pallies seem to be, as you say, will mess you up, and they seem to be worse than zoas. I just take care of it and don't do much at any time. But there we go.
Well, I remember there was a story. I think it was in where I live in the Manchester area, and somebody did that, and it went, and the headlines was, my fish tank nearly killed me. And I was like, and I read into it, like reading, obviously, because we're into the fish game business sort of thing. And I was like, what's this? And that's exactly what happened. What he did was he actually scraped, all the pallies and stuff, and he scraped them all off. you know, in his tank while he was in his tank, yeah. And then obviously done a few bits, and then, like you said, poured boiling water, and it released the toxin in his thing. And the service, because they were all getting coughs, and they were like, oh, you know, like feeling unwell. And the ambulance service come, and they rushed him out. They knew straight away what it was. You know what I mean? Got him in an ambulance, and he said like it could have killed you if you stayed there. You potentially could have died. You know what I mean? So I definitely 100% agree with the Pallies that they do thing. But I always thought Zoas were the same. I thought they released the toxin, the Palliatoxin Zoan, but I'm not 100% sure. So it's definitely something to look into. That's for sure.
But it's anything. It's just about taking care, isn't it? Because I think I remember the case seeing it in the paper. I think someone was in their bedroom, and again, it's like anything when you're fragging. I think I always make sure I have good ventilation, and it could be OTT, but you can never be too careful, can you? But I find that's what puts a lot of people off of fragging zoas, but they're actually fairly easy. If you just try one or two, and you just take care. I don't think you can go wrong with it. And I must admit, the first time I fragged some zoas, it wasn't the fragging of zoas, it was gluing them. Because when you glue them, you just put a little bit of glue and then you're trying to get it. And have I put it the right side up? I've done it before where I've done it upside down, and you realise that you've just put the actual head into the glue. And then sometimes you don't put enough glue on, and then the next day the zoa's gone and you never see it again. So I've had more problems trying to get used to what's the best way of gluing the frag plug with a small amount that you can just lift it and put it on there without getting loads of glue. I find that more difficult than actually carving them up.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they don't help themselves because they slime up, don't they? So it's like, so obviously when they're out, once you've cut them, they've slimed up, and then they've gone to like nothing because basically they're full of water, aren't they? That's what they're filled with. They're full of water. When you cut them, they just go into like a mush, don't they? So it's like, it is difficult. I mean, first time I did it, it all looked the same, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I realised when I stuck them down that I'd actually stuck the head of the actual Zoa on the glue as opposed to the actual cuppa, and I was like, oh, I can't do this. Do you know what I mean? But it comes over time, doesn't it? You know, as you're practicing, you're cutting more and you're cutting more. You know roughly. Like I know now, like exactly how much glue I need to put to stick it. Like, and then I dip
just a small amount, isn't it? Just a little dab. That's all you need.
It only needs. I mean, you can go too much with the glue, or you can go a little too, or not enough. Do you know what I mean? If you don't go enough, then it's floating off. If you go too much, then it goes all around the actual part of it, and it sticks the head. So it's a balancing act, especially when you're beginning, when you're starting off flagging them. You know what I mean? And I definitely learned by my mistake on that. That's for sure.
Yeah. But what I tend to do when I'm gluing Zoas, I'll actually have a tray and I'll put it on top of the tank and I have water, because if you've got the lights on, it's really easy to tell which way's up. Because obviously the lights, but under natural light, I just, maybe it's old in my eyes and that I can't see properly with it. But underneath that, it's a lot easier.
This is a good call list, saying someone said a bobby worm. If you've got a bobby worm, there is no doubt that it will take the fish 100%. Do you know what I mean? There's an actual I don't know if a Reef Builders put it up, or I'm not 100% sure, but just type in largest bobbit worm, and it was in a tank in America, and they shown it, and they had the tank up for 4 years or 5 years, and they'd never seen anything. No fish had gone missing or nothing, And then all of a sudden, the fish started to go missing in the tank, and they were like, "What the hell? What's going on?" Here. So they were taking the tank down, and when they took the tank down, there was a 2.5 foot bobbit worm in there, and it shows you on YouTube. The size of it, mate, it was something out of like Predator. You know that movie? It was horrendous. And I said that'd be my worst nightmare. Having something like that in your tank. But then 100%, if you've got a bobbit worm in your tank, but you never see them because they come out at night. So you'll never ever know unless you stay up at night and you watch it. And they do go for fish that are ill. You know what I mean? Like most predators do. They go for the
weakest, don't they?
You know what I mean? So to have 4 fish go in one time, I really don't. It is a very difficult one, that one, to be truthful. I mean, I've never lost 4 fish at a time. When I lose 1 fish, I'm like, what the hell? Maybe they're ill. But 9 times out of 10, mine jump out of my tank. So, you know what I mean? That's the only time I lose my fish. But it's definitely just keep an eye out in the evening when your lights go out. If you stay up a little bit longer and just see. because you'll definitely see something over time.
Yeah, just some good comments in here. First of all, Black Pearl Reef. No, I can't donate the pygmy hawkfish, but I'm sure if you come down to Harlow to AAC, I'm sure Paul at there will order it in for you, because that's where I got mine. And these things to have them from time to time. So I know you've been looking for quite a while for a pygmy hawkfish. Superb, superb fish. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a lovely one. And there's some other good comments in there. This has happened to me a number of occasions, not just zoas, but I end up sticking my fingers to the rock. And quite often you've got a frag plug or something, and you go to put it into the tank, and then it's stuck to your finger, and then you've got glue all over the place, and you're effing and blinding. So that is something I do on a regular basis.
What? So do you just use glue for using all your frags, Paul, or do you use the putter?
I use both. So if the frog spawn, I don't know if that actually came through on the camera. What I tend to do, I've got a frag plug and I use a disc. I then use glue, and I use the DD Aquascape putty, which is 2-part. So then what I do, I make sure that's mixed well, because if you don't mix it properly, it doesn't set properly. I leave it out for about 40 minutes for it to go a little bit harder. I then glue the putty to the frag plug. So I use Ecotech glue. And then what I do is I'll squash the putty down a little bit. I then put glue onto the putty and then push the frog spawn or whatever it is onto it. And I find it works really well.
That's a
so
mission.
It's a bit of a performance, but I find otherwise the stuff, if I just put the putty onto a frag plug, it just doesn't set properly. But also once I've set everything on a frag plug, I usually leave it out the water. Depending on what it is, SPS I leave out the water for 5, 6, 7 minutes. LPS I'll leave out for 2 or 3 minutes, and Zoa's probably 2 or 3 minutes as well. If it's quite a big piece, I fill up a tub of water from the tank it's going in, and I'll let it sit in the water for a little while. Otherwise, what I have learned is you put it in the tank, you then got flow, and it just knocks it off. Or what I tend to do with those frog spawn, they all spent 7 days in the sump in one of my tanks to set properly, and I didn't have any room. And you know what? I took them out and they opened within 1 day. I thought actually being in the dark for 7 days, they would they'd all be really bad, but they weren't. They opened up in no time. So that's what I do. I leave most corals out of the water when I'm fragging them for between 2 and 5 minutes. So I don't know about you.
I do. To be truthful with you, I used to use the putter, and then I stopped because it used to send the skimmer absolutely insane, and then it'd take the skimmer maybe a week to settle down. So even by just using a little bit, so in the end, and because I don't do water changes, it was a case of like, I can't take it. If there isn't anything in my water system, then I can't take it out. You know what I mean? So for me, all I've ever used is glue. Now I've used the Gorilla Glue. I use tubes of it. Especially if I'm sticking big pieces as well. All of the corals that are in my tank are all glued down. None of it's putted down or anything like that now. But there is. I have come onto the point of thinking, should I start to use is it the one that Jay's got? You know, the one that Jay's got, because that looks pretty good. And Jay says, like, you know, it doesn't upset his system in any way. You know what I mean? No cloudiness and stuff. So obviously, as my corals are growing, it's like my candy canes. My candy canes, I'm going to have to frag again. Do you know what I mean? They just seem to grow forever. Do you know what I mean? So same
here. But what I found, I used to do that. If I was to use the putty straight away, when you put it in, you would see part of it breaking off. Or you get stuff floating into the tank, or it'll give off, I don't know, chemical, whatever it is. But because I let it set for 40 minutes, Steve, it actually, I don't have a problem because it's really soft, and so therefore trying to set it when it's soft underwater, it just goes all milky, and it just disintegrates, and it's a real pain. But if you leave it out of the water to let it set, personally makes such a big difference, and I haven't had a skimmer go mad in any of the 3 tanks when I've used it.
You know what? I might actually try that, to be truthful, because like I said, when it's coming to the point now where when the corals are all growing big, the glue's not sufficient enough. I'm using like 2 tubes on like a big, big piece. And even then, I'm holding it in to try to settle it in. You know what I mean? And it's just not happening. But Practical Reefer there, he's put down, was that not made in an aquatics? Now he's mentioned that he was sent a video of a 5-foot bobbit worm found in a 200-litre tank just this week. No, this is going back some time now, mate. This one is definitely in America. But 5 foot that is in a 200-litre tank. That's scary. That is scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be my worst nightmare. That.
Yeah.
And they had no idea. Yeah, because they come out in the evening. You know what I mean? They don't come out during the day. They're a predator, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? So they come out and then they attack anything that's weak, anything that's ill, anything that's dying, and that's what their job is. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And plus I tell you that they scavenge as well, don't necessarily get any uneaten food and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But Algae Warriors put Bobby Worms are a night one that mares are made of, period, from Fragbox TV. of a big black blob. Wow. Yeah, about a foot long. Yeah, they are scary things, that's for sure. You know what I mean? But,
yeah. And I think someone mentioned earlier on about, they didn't use live rock. I've heard stories of things coming in on frag plugs.
Yeah,
when they're really, so it's not just on live rock, which obviously if you've got live rock, you're more likely to get a pest, but that they can come on, or any of those kind of pests can come in on frags.
Well,
so it isn't just the live rock. And I mean, obviously they get really, really big, but they have to start out really small to begin with. So I suppose it could come in on that.
Yeah. Black Pearl Reach put, anyone ever attempted to frag a wall hammer? Me personally, mate, no. I always got told that you couldn't do that. But
same here. I heard you couldn't. Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't get a wall hammer coral. No. I prefer branching for a couple of reasons. Obviously, you can frag them, and also with wall hammers, once part of it starts to die off, what I hear is it's very unlikely to turn around and survive. Whereas I've lost heads of branching. Just cut it off, and quite often the rest can survive. So I mean, the wall ones look absolutely superb, but I've always stayed away from for that reason. That once they get a bit sickly, I've heard they're hard to turn around. Not that I've experienced it, but I've only read it. But no, I haven't seen anything that says that you can frag them. It's a bit like trackies, isn't it? Trackophilia. I've seen the odd video of people fragging them, but you don't hear it enough times. Because let's face it, they're really expensive. If they were fairly easy to frag, people would have fragged them by now, wouldn't they? But you don't hear of many people successfully fragging a trackie. So I think that's in the same kind of bracket as that.
I know. Yeah, I know. I mean, you know what? I see certain people where they actually cut up like scullies. You know, scullies. They actually slice the scully through the mouth, and I'm like, oh no! I thought, no, that just can't be right. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, it survived. You actually cut it into two, was it, Steve?
Yeah, he cut it into two actually, but he's got to go right through, the mouth. Yeah, perfect through the mouth and all that. And over time, believe it or not, it takes a long time, but it does heal. You know, I always think to myself, imagine you got like a 3, 4, 5. It takes some nuts, doesn't it? Yeah, to cut through something like that, mate. Let's be honest, yeah. Oh yeah, I've got my 300-400 pound coral here. Mate, I'm gonna cut it through. No chance, no way. There's certain things that can be fragged. Zoas, candy canes,
SPS,
all hard skeletal corals that grow a base. Yeah, in my opinion, can be cut. It's like mushrooms; they couldn't cut. Certain people cut mushrooms, and I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand why. You know what I mean? Mushrooms split, but some people like to cut them. Because they might be higher end stuff. And stuff like that. But for me, if I just frag anything, it's mainly hard base ones. And like I said, zoas and stuff like that. But there's no way I'll be cutting like a scully or like a wall hammer coral, or a wall hammer or anything like that, because it's just like I said, the survival rate I think would be poor. You know what I mean? And it's so I don't know. I suppose people are each to their own, aren't they, Paul? People have different opinions, don't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a bit like there was a BRS video. I think it must be at least 4 or 5 years old, where they set up a tank and they were cutting nems. Yeah. And you'd actually see they put like you say, used a knife and went straight through the mouth split, and then it heals. And
Yeah.
it's weird, isn't it? Because I always feel it's okay to frag some things, but I wouldn't frag a nem like that. But it's not logical, really. I mean, to feel that way, because if you're fragging one thing, you're fragging up. It just doesn't feel right to me. Not that I've ever had a nem, and I wouldn't have a nem, especially based on Jay's experience. But it just seems weird. If you want to see it, it's a really good video, but I just couldn't do it.
But but anemones, they split anyway. You know what I mean? So why would you want a frag and an enemy? You know what I mean? And plus, that would be my worst nightmare. That it's like trying to frag jelly in it. You know what I mean? It's like it'll be all over the shop. Plus, you've got to get it right, sliced through the mouth and all that, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if an anemone wants to split, it'll split. You know what I mean? I had one in my tank, which is shown on, and then the next day I had 3, and then the next day after that I had 4. And I was like, what in hell? And it was split. It was like some out of the scene of the Gremlins, when the Gremlins were popping out.
Yeah.
And I was like, what in the hell's going on here? You know what I mean? I had an enemy for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And then the next minute, I had 4. It's I don't understand why you would flag them. But Julie said, you could send me some candy canes. You know what? If I knew how to ship them out properly without them dying, I probably would do. I'm going to get into that, actually. I'm going to start figuring out how to properly send things off, because it's like a lot of my tank, my main display in my tank now, it's like I do frag certain things, but it's like, say, the Stylopoda and the Ceratopia and stuff like that just grows like weeds. Now I'm having to snap it off because it's where the Miyagi tort is. I'm having to snap the green one off, the Ceratopia, because it's blocking the light. So what I've done is I'm snapping it, but rather than putting on frag plugs, I'm just throwing it at the back of the tank. You know what I mean? So it's just like basically wastage. But if somebody can use it, you know what I mean, and I need to figure out how I can send them properly, then I will do. But for me, it's just like, for me, it's like I don't want them to die, even though like I'm throwing them at the back of the tank. I don't want them to die. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird thing, really. By sending them out in the Royal Mail. Do you know what I mean? So
a couple of things on that. So first of all, Julie, I've got candy canes. I've got a frag that's got about 8 heads. If you want to message me on Instagram, we'll sort something out. If you want to see what it looks like, I've got on my Instagram post, I put the big colony on there. That must be at least 50 heads. So I can sort you out. So Steve, actually sending things for the post, I must have sent about 60 to 80 lots of corals over the last few years. So it is relatively easy, but there's no 100% guarantee. So basically, I use a poly box. And then in terms of the corals themselves, I get the little, like the specimen bottles. You can get them about that big. Always then use a bit of foam, and you put the frag plug in it upside down. I always put a little piece of carbon in, because some of them can give off toxins, so that really helps. I always wrap then the little pot in bubble wrap. In the box itself, I put a divider, which is cardboard, because what you don't want, some corals hate being near to the heat. So I learned my lesson. The aquapora, sometimes if they're near to a heat pack, they'll just overheat and bleach out. And then I always send it raw mail next day by 4 o'clock, and then keep your fingers crossed, because sometimes the raw mail mess up. I've got to say, things like Zoas and LPS and some of the hardy, like cat's paw or stylophora, are really easy to send through the post. And you would have seen from the WhatsApp group, I'm sending some stuff to Ross in the next couple of weeks. I just need to get some some boxes.
Well, I did send I've done some from AB Reef there. As a, because he obviously is tank and things. So I thought, I said, just flag some off, and I thought, just to see. So I did get some of the, I already had some of the little things, the actual test pots from when I bought coral. So they just came, so I just reused them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think it was like candy canes, a Duncan, and some Zoas and stuff like that. But and a Satosa. But I think I'm sure one of them didn't make it. You know what I mean? And I think that's where I made my mistake, was because I put a heat pack in. But I think I wrapped them up like I put some packing in, but I think it was actually touching the heat pack. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when he showed me the pictures, and I thought, no, you know what? I think like I don't think that's going to survive. You know what I mean? It's but it took like I don't know. Adam, actually, did the Zoas actually open? Because the Zoas didn't open for a while. I don't even know whether they did open. Now I thought to myself, is that got something to do with heat stress? You know, like did they stress out? But they're still live, so obviously they've lived the transport. The others, like the candy canes, they were right. You know what I mean? But I think if for instance, like say my higher end stuff, if I learn with the lower end stuff on the correct way of sending them, then obviously with my higher stuff, then I don't mind. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. The other thing that's key, Steve, is actually putting holes in the box, which is a bit weird because you think if you put holes in the poly box, then actually the heat's going to get out, but it needs the oxygen to get in to keep the heat pack
that's right.
going. So I always put a good 4 to 6 holes in it. Because first time I did it, I'm thinking this is a bit weird. It's -2 out, blah blah blah. But if you don't, the heat pack just dies, and of course then the rest of the stuff dies because the temperature goes down too much. So I've seen people make mistakes on that, and I made a mistake when I first did it as well. To be fair, it's not to say I haven't lost things, because I have killed things, but I've always given a full refund to people on that. I mean, there's certain things I wouldn't. A higher end SPS, not that I've had that many in my time, I wouldn't send those through. It's just too much egg. But most other things I do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, mate. You know what? It's like if you're sending a piece out worth like 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 quid and stuff like that, and then it passes out and then it dies. All right, you know what? It's, you know, you send the money back and stuff like that and things. But, you know, I'd rather want like I know you're never going to probably get 100% survival rate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you can come close to it, then, you know what I mean? It's good for you, and it's good for the person who's buying it off you as well. Do you know what I mean? But I want to just check it and make sure that I can do it right, you know, before I invest my time and my effort, you know, on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Phil,
just send 2 or 3 of the easier things out to people you know and tap and see how it goes. I mean, the price of heat packs and the poly boxes have gone up quite a bit, and it costs. I find when you put everything together, including the Royal Mail, it doesn't come short of £11-12 in total. I mean, you know, some of the people obviously sell a hell of a lot. They'll buy them in bulk and obviously get them cheaper. But if you're buying like 10 boxes here and 10 heat packs, it does add up.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just looking down a few. Yeah. Errol Sullivan's put, it'll give you nightmares. Yeah. He just said that he just looked up what a bobbit worm is. Yeah. Bobbit worms. They are scary. That's for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Batshir Reefer's put, I'm sure Bahama Lama, on here, flagged the scholar, and inappropriate reefer as the other half. Ah, right. Yeah, definitely.
I think I might look that up because I haven't seen that. Just be interested to see how it's how it's done. You don't hear it very often, because if it was really easy, loads of people would do it, wouldn't they? LFS would do it as well, wouldn't they? If you think those that have got coral farms and that, they would frag them.
You know what I think it is? I think it's not only the survival rate, but I think it's also the length of time that it takes for them to recover.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? True. So you got to, you know what I mean? If you're in an LFS store and you cut your master story up, to have 2 master stories, if you're brave enough, that is, then how long is it going to take for them to recover for you to sell them? Do you know what I mean? Black Pill Reese said he sees someone frag scholars to the point where they're the size of a £2 coin. Mate, you're right. That's what people do. People do it not just for the money. Well, I reckon for the money, but also to see like if they can do it. You know what I mean? But I'm telling you now, if I had like a higher end scholar, really high end scholar, I wouldn't be doing it. There is no chance on this earth would I be fragging anything that even has a remote possibility of dying, because it's just not worth it. You know what I mean?
Well, I fragged the, as you know, the Raja Rampage a couple of weeks ago. I must admit, I was most chalices, I'll just cut them up and that's it. But I must admit, I was a little bit nervous doing that. So I fragged it into a fairly large piece, and it survived. It's doing well. And once it's settled, I'm then going to frag it into another piece. But I've got to say, when it costs a lot more, and you're thinking, if I do this wrong, it's going to kill the whole thing.
Well,
yeah, I've been putting it off and putting it off, and as I was doing the other stuff, I think just go for it. So I got the scissors out and just cut it, and I was really careful not to tear it. Unfortunately, I didn't. And the colony itself doesn't. I mean, it looks a bit brown around the edges where I cut it. It hasn't recovered very quickly, but then chalice can take ages. But the actual frag itself looks spot on. So I was really relieved. But I know what you mean about something being really expensive. You know, have you got the Wotsits to actually frag it?
No, I haven't, mate. There's no chance. Julia said, "Okay, Paul, cool, Paul, thanks. I will." Adams put it was it was one of the SPS that didn't make it. The Candy Cane Zoas and the other SPS made it. Yeah, right. So yeah, like I said, you know, I think I said it 4 or 5, I think. So you know what, 75% survival rate, but really I want it to be 100% survival rate, not 75%. You know what I mean? So, but first time sending stuff out, you know what I mean? I can't really complain. But he did say like the Zoas took over the week to open. So yeah, Reef King, he sent me some of the clove polyps. So he said he sends stuff all the time, mate. Small box, heat pads, and that's it. Easier said than done, mate. You know what I mean? I'm a complete novice at that sort of stuff. So
let's give it a go. So Carl, do you put carbon in the little pots or in the bags or not? Because I found it's really helped, especially with corals that slime up, and it just helps take the toxin. I had one coral that it died a couple of times when I sent it. I put carbon in, it just solved it. And so he doesn't.
Phil Holtz has put well, going on to Carl's just replied. He says no.
Okay.
So Phil Holtz has put down. He said he thinks they need to be in a system plenty of time and take years to become round again. So yeah, I'm assuming he's talking about. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's just, in my eyes, what is the point of doing that? You know what I mean? It's just doesn't seem to be any point in doing that. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, you're taking a nice, beautiful circle scully into like half a scully. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. But I suppose it's each to their own, isn't it, mate? You know what I mean? It's whatever people feel comfortable in doing and whatever they want to do. Do you know what I mean? That's what it is.
So there was a good comment from Practical Reefing a little bit earlier on. He said, "I'm falling in love with NEMs despite their issues. I might end up with one."
Oh yeah. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Trust me. It's I mean, I love NEMs, and originally the nano tank, what I was going to do. Well, it was a frag tank. Yeah, that's what it was thinking. So obviously, I could take out the stuff that, because I don't like frag racks in my tank. That's what it is. So I wanted a frag tank where when I did frag my coral, I wanted to just put them in somewhere and get them out of the way. And then obviously that changed, and then I turned it into like a little nano tank. And you know what? I loved it. It was great. You know what I mean? It was a buzz. Very little maintenance on it. Clean the glass, feed the fish, clean the filters out once every 2 weeks, and do a water change at the time once a week, and then change it over to once every fortnight. So. But yeah, for me doing that, it was okay. But the very, very first point at the beginning was I wanted to have an anemone tank, a whole anemone tank, yeah, with like 4 or 5 little baby clowns, yeah, you know, from the same batch, they're like brothers and sisters, yeah, and just have it like as a clown harem tank. That's what I wanted. I mean, I think what's it called? Reef Builders. I think they had one. Or they did an episode on it, and it just looks incredible. Also, there's a few American guys who have them. You know what I mean? And they just look absolutely.
BRS had a tank for about 2 years that was a Clan Harlan tank. It looked absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, but when you put one anemone in your tank, you're asking for trouble. If you've got SPS, they will find your help, your SPS. If you've got certain corals that you don't want it to go to, they will find that certain coral that you don't want it to go to. And in my opinion, yeah, it's just not worth it to I mean, I had one in my nano tank, but that was, I didn't have high-end corals in my tank. I had, you know, the usual stuff, you know, candy canes and just the normal stuff. But like, there's no way now I will put an enemy in 9 main display tank. Never, you know what I mean? Because I guarantee you it'll go straight to the gold torches and sting them to death. So, you know, it's entirely down to you. But in my opinion, mate, I'd just stay. I'd stay away from them.
Yeah, there's a really good comment by Julie on there. I don't know if you've seen it. About 5 or 6 up.
Which
unless you try, you don't learn.
Yeah.
I think it goes for the whole of reefing, that unless you try, you just don't know what's gonna happen. And sometimes it just fails, and other times it's a great success. So I think you can say that about life, but I think certainly in reefing, unless you push it within certain boundaries, you're just not going to progress and learn. I don't think.
You know what I might try? I might try it and get some little printout stickers, put them on the tops of the lids. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying, Paul? I might go all out for it. What do you reckon?
You should give it a go. Once you've got the stuff in, then it's got to be worth it. Because because you're limited to how many people buy local to you. You could sell stuff back to LFS for store credit, depending on the store. But
that's what I do. You know what I mean? I do a lot of that, you know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? But like you said, store credit's okay. But sometimes, you know, like a little bit of money, if you get money, you can invest the money then into your tank. You know what I mean? It's different because certain, like in my LFS, they do have the same. Well, I say the same stuff, but every so often they get that special gem, and when they get that special gem in the tanks, it's gone within half an hour. It's gone. You know what I mean? Somebody will see it either on the website or on the Facebook page, and it's completely gone. So, you know, for me, I do prefer, like, you know, people like pay me or whatever, you know, in that sense. But I'm not in it. I'm not in it for the money. That's why I don't really do tons of fragging. You know what I mean, Paul? I'm just in it to let the corals grow. I mean, I've got five heads on the Indo torch. I've got 3 heads on the holy grail. You know what I mean? So if I wanted to, I could take that off and I could cut them and sell what I don't even know what they're going for now. The Indos, is it about 120, 130 or something? I don't know.
I don't know.
I could do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm not into that. You know what I mean? I want to grow it into full colonies and then move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm with you on that one. I just frag it when things get too big. I've got some serious coral warfare going on one of the tanks, and I know that I'm gonna have to do some serious fragging on it. But the problem is trying to get rid of the stuff really quickly, because I don't want it lying around. The frog spawn's a bit different because they're really nice pieces, and I can get rid of them. They're fairly popular. So as I say, I'm selling those. Coming back to the I'm
just getting the
clownfish.
We're not mentioning what we're on our drinks. I'm on the what is it? Oh, strawberry and lime Copperbergs I'm on today.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I like Koppenberg, but it's not good for me because it's full of sugar and just sends my blood sugars through the roof.
You know what, mate? I needed this sugar intake today because, like I said, I've came home from work 7 this morning, and then like my mate was moving out, so he said, "Will you give us a lift?" I said, "Yeah." So I thought it was going to be this afternoon, and then lo and behold, he phoned me about 10 o'clock, 10:15. Oh, the van's going to be 20 minutes, so it was like 3 hours kip, and I was like, "Oh, this is a nightmare." And I literally finished like at 5, come home and just had a shower and just chilled for a bit. But definitely need a sugar rush today, mate. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've been the opposite. I've been off today because it's my youngest 23rd birthday today.
Oh, right.
He's out and about now. That's why I'm on here. But we had people around this afternoon and everything, so it was really nice. So I had the off the day off work. So I'm the opposite to you. I've been chilling for most of the day.
Oh, but, well, I'm off all week. I'm off all this weekend now. So that's the main thing. You know what I mean? I'm off the long weekend. So that's the good thing with my job is like I work 4 on 4 off. So you know it's you work hard during the week or you work hard during your 4 days, but then you're off for 4 days. So it's a reap and reward sort of thing job. So that's Put Tidal Gardens mentioned best part of a decade for Scully.
Wow,
it's in nice shape. Now that just says exactly what I just said. Like, why would you do it? You know what I mean? There's just no point in doing it. But like I said, it's each to their own, and it's in the time down to you what you want to do. Carl Sport, he loves Nems. Can be a pain in the ass, mate. That's what it can be. That's for sure. So He's got 5 in his tank now. So yeah, you start off with 1, and they just multiply. There's no reason to cut them. There's just, you see, this comes on to, and then I don't know how you feel, Paul. What do you think people say? And then they split, yeah, because they're unhappy, and yet other people say, and then they split because they're happy. I've read both of them. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, the stress. Sorry, yeah. So it's like, I don't think they'll ever be able to prove what it is. You know what I mean? But it would be interesting to know what people think. Like, my tank had good parameters all the way through, and then mine split. You know what I mean? Into four an enemy. So does that mean that they were happy? But then when they put me an enemy in my nano tank, what I got, yeah, that tank was like up and down at the time because it was a nano tank, yeah, and yet that never split. So it wasn't stressed, was it? You know what I mean? So
I've never had a NEM before, but I have read, so I don't know if it's true or not, that quite often it will split because it's stressed and it's kind of part of the survival that it go into more than one piece. Right. I've also heard that about some other corals, that they will send out, some SPS will send out polyps that will then, I can't remember what one it is. There's one that's quite a really hardy SPS. I don't know if it's Bacillopora, which actually then spreads, and all of a sudden you'll see them pop up elsewhere because they'll send out the polyps. Now, I don't know if that's the same thing whereby it gets stressed and it does exactly the same or not. That I don't know. But yeah, I don't know if it's proven or not. I suppose there are some tests, but yeah, I know what you mean.
You send me them, mate, and I'll send you some of the zoas that you want. You tell me what zoas you want, and you can be my guinea pig, yeah, like Adam was, yeah. So you can be my guinea pig down south. Adam was my guinea pig up the north. So yeah, well, absolutely, mate. We'll sort something. We'll do that, and see if they arrive alive.
Yeah. So Steve, you talked about was it Fragbox earlier on?
Fragbox.
Yeah, you mentioned Fragbox corals. Have you seen?
Oh, somebody mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah, Fragbox corals. Now, Jake messaged the other day that Fragbox corals. There was a really good video. They because we had this discussion on WhatsApp all the time around heaters. So they had a glass heater that exploded in one of their tanks and wiped out quite a few corals. I mean, it's an LFS in Canada. I've never come across their channel before. It's a really good channel, actually.
Yeah.
And it puts out loads of really good content. And basically, I wouldn't say it caused a tank crash, but it did write off quite a few of the corals. And I know you change your heaters every year. Well, in my main tank, I've got a heater, and it's a glass one that's been in the tank since it's set up. So it's been there. I've had the same heater for 6 years. And I know when you said, "What? You're running such a risk."
That's called sheer luck. That's sheer luck, mate. That's all that is. Yeah, you know what I mean. There's no way. Never. I mean, I have a titanium heater. Yeah, and I've got a spare titanium heater in there. The one that was originally in it. You know what I mean. And after a year, I changed it over. Now titanium heaters, the D&D is the 45. I think it's 45 quid or something. Yeah. Now it's not about the cost. It's if something happens, do you know what I mean? Yeah, and it doesn't get detected for the sake of £45. Am I going to risk thousands of pounds of coral? No, you know what I mean. But you know what? At the end of the day, I suppose people look at it like this. Yeah, if it's not broke, we don't need to change it. Do you know what I mean? And I can appreciate that. Yeah, that's a saying. If it's not broke, why change it? And yeah, you're right. But you're risking it. You know what I mean? Yeah. In my eyes, I believe you're risking it. And if you've not got like a temperature controller, even a temperature controller can fail. You know what I mean? Anything electrical can fail in a tank. You know what I mean? So I live on the mindset that if I change it and then it breaks, then it's just bad luck. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I can say to myself in my own head, I can say, well, I changed it. You know what I mean? I swapped it out, so there's nothing I can do. Yeah. Whereas if I leave it for 2-3 years or 4 years or so, and then it goes, then what am I going to say in my own mind? I'm going to go, well, you know what, Steve? What an idiot you was because you didn't change it because you was a tight bleep. You know what I mean? So that's just me. That's the way I think. That's the way my mind works. You know what I mean? But
no, I know what you mean. The reason why I use a glass heater, that it's got a thermostat on it. So all three tanks have either got DD controllers, or I've got APEX on one of the teams. So there is some redundancy there. But you're right about DD controller. There was a guy I knew, he was away, and he always had a camera on his tank, and his tank didn't look right. And I went round there, and basically the heater was okay, but the controller had failed. It was still on, but it wasn't working, and the tank was down to 19 degrees. So the heater was fine, because when I took the heater off of the controller and plugged it in, it worked fine. So I always do it because I have a thermostat as a backup to the heater on there. Now, of course, if the controller goes, then if it's not working, it's not working. You're kind of stuffed. But I work on the basis that if for whatever reason it didn't switch off the controller, I've then got a backup on the thermostat. But I mean, touch wood, I've never had a problem with glass. I've had a heater fail before, but I've been more concerned about a power head giving up and having loss of flow than I would with the temperature going down slowly, because I think there's more of a risk on lack of flow than there is on heat.
Yeah,
from what I've seen.
That would be interesting to know what people think, whether they would be thinking power head or, like you said, heater. You know what I mean? I know, like fish can survive. You know, how can I put it? Not like cold water, but they can survive a good drop. But certain corals, don't believe can. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like when my tank crashed. When my tank crashed, I lost a fair few coral. Like it just met in fact, I lost a couple of torches. Thankfully, I didn't have any of my higher end stuff in. But when it went off and the temperature dropped, I think it went to about 20. What was it? I think it was like 28, 20, 29 or something like that. Yeah. And I got like brown jelly disease. They started to deteriorate, you know, and that was because my electric actually tripped on the house, and I was out. The only day I was stayed out, and that's what happened. So obviously everything went off the flow, all the fish survived. Barring, sorry, no telling lie, one fish, not the flame angel, the coral beauty, that passed away. You know what I mean? But as for the others, they all survived. Even clownfish, all the fish that are in the tank now, they were all in it that survived. But I lost maybe about 250 pounds worth of coral. So, and I'm assuming that's got something to do with just the temperature and not the flow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There was I mentioned about Fragbox cobbles. There's a couple of comments on there by Practical Reefer around. Yeah, they had the glass heater. It was in a silly position, and the owner who made the video seemed to think that potentially, not only in a silly position, it got knocked. Right. So in that position, so therefore it could have been weakened, or it could have got busted when they cleaned the skimmer on that one. And also another comment on there around in the US, Canada, their main circuit, whereas it would have tripped in the UK. You're right, because occasionally I've done something and it does trip on the tank or in the shed or something like that. So we've probably got quite good circuit breakers that allows for not the whole thing to fall over on that. But it's interesting because I've got titanium on one tank and then I've got glass on the other two.
Yeah, is that why?
I can understand why you change it all the time, though. I totally get the fact that change it. It's not a lot of money when you look at what we spend on everything else. I am a lazy reefer. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should change it.
Well, it's not. It's, you know what? It's not that you're a lazy reefer. You know what? You know all it is, Paul. It's because nothing's happened yet. That's what it is. Yeah, and it's not broke. It's like, say, for instance, when we take our cars for our MOT, we're taking our cars when we're paying the garage, £100, £200, £300, £400, £500 to repair that to do a service or an MOT on our car. But there's nothing wrong with our car. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with our cars. Our cars are okay. They're running. But there's that potential. So you paid the people, but then there's that potential where there's that one point where you could keep running your car and that one fault could go on it, and then you know what I mean. And before you know it, you're in the disaster zone. So for me, that's all the only reason why I change my thing every year. I've got 5. I can lay them all out on the table now. 5 heaters I've got, titanium one and 4 heat. But I use them. I still use them. I use them to heat water up. You know, when I'm mixing my solutions for my aquaforest stuff and things. And I was using it for when I had the frag tanks. You know, I heated the water up and done salt mix and stuff. But for now, mate, you know what I mean? And I suppose it's a spare because I do know that they work. Do you know what I mean? So God forbid if anything does happen to the ones that are in the tank, then I can just take them out and I can put one in, you know, just until I get another one. But I mean, my missus says you've got that OCD sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Because you just like, no reason why you need to do it if someone's working. But I suppose it's each their own, mate. Black Pearl's put, he runs the Aquio Heat Ultra Heater, the UK version. Yeah, I was going to say that's the equivalent of the Cobalt in it, which are about, what are they, about 125 quid or something like that.
I've never heard of them. So are they titanium?
No, they're dead flat. They're like a flat, very, very thin heater they are, and they've got a thermostat on the top, like a thingy on the top of it that goes round like a digital readout. Cobalt neotherms, and they did get classed as like one of the best. You know what I mean? But I don't think you need to put them on. You don't need to put them on a thermostat or anything like that. I think you just run normal. But he said he has one. But the Aquio one, they did like a very similar sort of product to it. Don't know whether it's the same like quality. I'm not sure. But yeah, they do look really, really good. And I was going to get one from a nano tank. But he was saying that he's also backs his up with a titanium heater as well for backup. Well, this is it. I mean, I've got my nano, the titanium heater in my tank that's linked to the temperature controller. Yeah, that's linked to the temperature controller. But I have got a glass one in there as well, a 300 watt glass one in there. Yeah. That is linked to my Apex. That's linked to my Apex. Now that never ever comes on because I've set that as a standby. So if for instance something happened and then that all got tripped off or it broke or whatever, then when it gets to a certain point, then the glass one automatically kicks in and then heats it up. So it's just as a standby. I've got two heaters in there. One's always on. The second one is never on. So, but definitely, you have one for standby. That's for sure. You can't go wrong.
So, quick question for Black Pearl Reef: do you use a temperature controller with that as a backup and a redundancy? Because I must admit, I wouldn't run a tank without a temperature controller now. I must admit.
Yeah.
Would you run one without a temperature controller, Steve?
No. The two, I think, in my opinion, the two are unreliable. Before, just carry on. Carl's off. He said he's going out tonight. You know what, mate? Enjoy your evening, pal. Yeah, thanks for joining us, mate. Appreciate it. And yeah, definitely we'll sort some out. Message me and I'll get some always sent to you, mate. Just let me know which ones you want. What was we talking about? Oh, the temperature control, won't we? Yeah, there's no way, mate. I mean, we see them all the time, don't we? You know what? One and the the Eheim ones and stuff. Listen, German make. They're not going to go wrong at it. And they've been around for years, haven't they? You know what I mean? Decades. So they're certainly good products. They certainly they do the business. You know what I mean? But there's no way. I mean, the plasticky fiddly parts that you get on, the ones that move around on the top. On the end,
they can be a bit fiddly.
Oh, they're fiddly, mate, and all it takes is a knock. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no chance would I risk that. So, like I said, for the, I mean, what the ones that we have, I think about 49 quid the temperature controller monitors, and plus you can put a fan in it as well, Kyle. So you're doing two birds with one stone as well. If it goes too hot in the tank, then you've got a fan that you can put on. So I would never use one without one. That's for sure.
Yeah. So Black Pearl Reef has said he's got a built-in thermostat and also has that on an Inkbird, which I'm assuming is a controller. So he has got redundancy on it.
Yeah. The Inkbird is the equivalent. Of it's just another make for the temperature controllers. That's all it is.
Yeah. Same thing. Would you ever think about running a battery backup to to have on the flow, because I've got in the main tank, not the other two tanks, I've got battery backups of both of the MP40s, and each month I turn the tank off and just make sure the battery is working. I do it for an hour. It's only ever happened to me, I think, twice where I haven't been around and they've had to kick in, and it wasn't longer than an hour, to be fair. And then I've got battery air pumps as well. So for the other two tanks, if there was a real problem, the main tank should be all right. But then for each of the other tanks, I've got battery air pumps that I can put in. So have you used the battery backups before, Steve?
No, I've never used a battery backup, but I have always thought, and I should, you know, I mean, one big thing is the space. I've just got no space in my tank, but I have always thought about it because, like you said, even running as a backup with flow, for 4-6 hours, you know what I mean? Even that, could potentially save your tank, you know what I mean? So, but, I mean, the big thing, I have seen people make them, you know, actually make them, because I was going to get one of the Vortex ones, and the price of them was just
really expensive. I've got two of them, Steve. They're really expensive.
Like, I can't justify that price, you know, what they're charging. You know what I mean, Paul? And then somebody said, "Oh, watch this! It's the equivalent of the Vortex battery backup." And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna search it, and then what I'll do is I'll leave a link either on my Instagram or maybe put it on the bottom of this live stream, and you can check it out. But somebody did it, and he literally did it for peanuts. He said this is all they use, and he's shown it. He stripped it down. He said this is all they use, and he basically had the Vortex, and then he had the ones that he done, and he'd made it for like 30 quid, 40 quid. You know what I mean? So I thought, but would I risk doing something like that, making it? You know what I mean? The guys that Vortex, you know, the professionals, aren't they? They know what they're doing. So it's like, and that's what you're paying for, really. You're paying for their expertise in the knowledge and the knowledge of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Whether you all think of the products is irrelevant. It's down to your choice and what you do. But for me, it's like, I think I can't justify paying. What are they, about 130 quid or something now, or something like that?
I think they're more than that. I think they're about 150 quidish. I'm not too sure, but that is a lot of money. It really is.
It is, mate. It is. It's a lot of money for the battery. But then again, it comes back on to what we've spoke about all the time, and we continue to keep speaking about it. We have all this money in our tanks, and it could potentially die. So we think to ourselves, you know what? We go out and we spend 150, 200 pounds, 300 pounds on a coral, because it looks nice and because we want it in our tanks and this, that, and the other. But then my mindset comes back to, I'm not paying 150 pounds for that battery backup. You know what I mean? So I'm just contradicting myself, you know, in what I'm saying. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, Paul? So I don't know. It's definitely something to look into.
I've seen some people. I mean, in the States, there seems to be a lot of people that have generators that kick in. You see quite a few of those coming out. But also, I've seen people use the battery backups that people use on computers. So they're, I'm not going to say really big units, but it's a fair old lump. But that could then power not just, you know, you probably wouldn't have a power everything, but you could have it powering your return pump, your heater, and a little bit of flow at a reduced level, maybe just one of your main ones. And if you've got that, that'll probably keep you going. And I must admit, I've thought about that before, but I haven't got around it. But every summer you see a post somewhere where someone's saying, what's the best one to use, blah, blah, blah. And you see recommendations, and they're usually linked to ones that people use for computers.
You know what? Really, it's just a circuit. That's all you need, isn't it? Just a battery circuit. That's all you need to generate them. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, Ellie Sullivan there, he's put down. He's seen a few videos for DIY battery backups. Didn't look too difficult. It doesn't look too difficult. You're absolutely right. You know what I mean? But comes back to the point of, like, you know, should I risk it, you know, making it myself and doing it myself, or do I leave it to the professionals? Do you know what I mean? But then I've got to justify paying £150 for a battery backup, you know what I mean? But if it saves my tank in a disaster, then it's worth its weight in gold. I mean, I've got a generator which I bought because they were doing work on our street. So I was like, oh my God, this is not good, this, you know what I mean? And I thought, and they said, oh, the electric's going to go off. So I was like, I pulled the guy in, the managing director guy, mate. I pulled him in. If this thing goes off and it's off for a certain amount of time, then your shit's going to hit the fan, mate. You know what I mean? And he was like, oh, no, it's going to be off a certain time. And fair play, it went off, yeah? And it was off for about 2.5 hours it was. Now, all I was doing was I just got this, the pipette feeder, and I was just stirring, surface agitation of the water. I just did that, and then I realised that when I used to do the copepods, I had the actual air stone, the air stones with a battery pump. So I just dropped that in, and it just gave some air, some oxygen into the tank. So I used that, you know what I mean? So I never actually used the generator. But on the last resort, then the generator's getting powered, and it's going to wake up all the neighbours. Do you know what I mean? So, but that's what I'd use in a disaster. Do you know what I mean? But
Blackpool Reefs put a good comment on there. There's just much to what you're saying there around using battery-powered air pumps. And then the last one, I never thought about this, heat packs with Ziploc bags. So I'm assuming, but then if you put heat packs in.
Yeah, but I thought it needs air.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. If you put that in a Ziploc bag and you drop that in the sump, so I get where you're coming from, that it heats up, but then would it get the oxygen to keep it going? So it might fire up because you'd I'm assuming you would heat it up out of the water.
Yeah.
You then put it in a Ziploc bag. You then drop it, say, into the display.
Yeah.
Would it stay heated though, on the basis that it does need oxygen to keep going? So I get what you mean, but would it work? Have you tried it, Blackpool Reef? Because like you said, in theory, it sounds like a good idea, but I don't know if it would work.
Yeah, like you said, Paul, when you ship them out, you've got to paste the boxes with holes to keep the oxygen going into it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Unless there's certain heat packs that doesn't need oxygen. Do you know what I mean, mate? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the case.
Be interesting to see if he has used it. But there you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, what's happening in your tank then, Steve?
To be truthful, I did a test because I'm not having issues with my phosphates, but it keeps going up, So it's like rising, and then all of a sudden, it'll like start to drop. So obviously something's breaking it down, and then it's going on a path of like up and down, like up and down, up and down. So I start when it got up to, it went really high. I tested it, it went to like 0.44 or something, really high, which is insane. But my tank it never looked any better. It was just like it had no effects. Do you know what I mean? Everything was fine. It was only because I tested it that I knew. So I was like, right, I better start to lower this. So what I did was my NIOS torque reactor. I only use it when I'm putting raw phos in it.
Yeah.
I don't run carbon in my tank. I just run the raw phos and the carbon on an emergency. So say for instance, if there's some contaminants or whatever, in the tank.
Yeah.
So obviously I thought, right, well, I'll reduce the phosphates down. Now I like to run my phosphates at about 0.11 or between 0.07 and 0.11. I find that to be, bang on for me, on my tank, yeah. So I slowly lowered it down, and then I tested it a few days ago, and it was 0.14. So it was near enough at the point, yeah. Bear in mind, the raw phos has only been in a week. A little over a week, I'd say. A little over a week. So it dropped quite a bit, in that time, but there's no ill effects on my tank. And then I tested it yesterday, and it had gone to 0.18. So it had gone up. So it had gone from 1.4 to 1.8, and I'm like, what the hell? So I don't really know. So tomorrow I'm going to test it, and I'm going to see, because it seems to be going up and down, up and down. So I'm assuming the bacteria and all that is breaking it down. But I don't know. I'm at a loss with like why it keeps rising up and down. And yet my nitrate, I tested it on the HANA checker, and it's constantly 7. It's 7, 7.1, 7.2, 7.1. It's never moves from there. And I don't dose anything, so I don't dose Nopox. I don't dose nitrophos. I don't dose anything to break down the nitrate. So I always thought I always thought like it balanced itself out. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if the nitrate and phosphates, they'll be level. Do you know what I mean? Sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it has been, but then all of a sudden the phosphate seems to be going up. But I've got no algae. I've got no cyano. I've got no anything like that. I've got no signs. So it is a bit of a tricky one, with it.
Yeah.
But other than that one, I did. So
just before you move on, Rowaphos. I love Rowaphos and I hate Rowaphos. So I like it because I find it works really well. I hate it because it's so messy and I find it so hard to clean it. So a guy I know used Rowaphos and he didn't clean it at all, and his whole tank water went that kind of rusty color, and he was in a complete panic over it. It was all okay, and he found it was that. And I find when I use it, I put in I do a water change on another tank, and I put it in the reactor, stick it in a bucket, and I just whiz it round 30, 40, 50 litres until it cleans out. But I just find it such a pain in the what's-it to do.
You know what I do? This is what I do. This is a tip for all you people, They say run the Rowaphos in a reactor. It's the best way to get the right to get the best out of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but what I found was I run when I measured it, I measured it out to what I need. Then then I just run it under the tap. I just run it under the normal tap. Yeah.
Okay.
I let all the particles and everything, all the dirt. Yeah. I let it all run out. Yeah. And then what I do is I literally take about 2 litres of RO water and I just dip it in the RO water and basically you're getting all of the, like, say, any sort of contaminants that's coming from the tap water. Rinse it off in there, yeah, and until it comes like completely runs clear. And then what I do is I buy tights, ladies' tights, yeah.
Yeah.
I just buy ladies' tights, the very fine mesh ones, yeah. And I basically tip that into the tights, yeah. And I cut them like that, and I tie a knot in it, and then I drop it into my reactor. And then so I take out the middle plate of the reactor. So it's basically just sitting in a tube, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I turn the flow up, and I just put a little piece of live rock, rubble on top of it to hold it down. Because when the flow goes up, it starts to take it up, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then it hits the top. So I just put a bit of rubble on the top. And what that does is it blocks any particles, yeah, that, like the little microscopic particles that's not been rinsed. It blocks that from going up into my tank. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I just turn it up, maybe a little bit too more powerful than what it should be, but it's just so it's tumbling in the tights. Do you know what I mean?
I was going to say, how does it tumble? Because obviously you got the tights.
Because you turn the flow up.
You're turning the flow up, so it's bubbling within it, basically.
So you can see it. I mean, obviously you look at it and it's going to be compact. It's going to be like a compact in the tights. But trust me, try it. It will work, and you don't have and then when I change it, all I do is I pull the tights out, take it out, empty it, throw it in the bin, and then get the other set of tights and the other leg and do it to that one. Do you know what I mean, mate?
Steve, you started some cracking conversations because I wondered where you was going to go with the ladies' tights.
So winner, mate. Hey, a winner on chicken dinner. That's what it is.
So there we go. The answer to Rowaphos is ladies' tights. You've heard it here.
You've heard it here. Listen, that is a Friday night tip. You know it now, yeah. Because I'm not being funny. I don't know how much they charge you for those bags, but the bags just the normal bags, yeah. You put your Rowaphos or your media in, yeah.
Yeah.
Like £4, £55 for one bag. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm not paying that. And then one of my mates said to me, "No, you don't want to do that." He went, "Don't even buy them." He went, "Just get a set of those tights, some ladies' tights." And I'm like, "You what?" And he went, "Yeah, they work just the same." And I was like, ingenious. You know what I mean? So once you've used one leg, you use the other leg, and it's a win-win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it works for me. Definitely drops it.
I've heard there's NIOS, it's the equivalent of Rowaphos, that you don't have to rinse. Now I haven't used it. I've got a massive bucket of Rowaphos that I got off of someone when I was selling their tank. So I've got enough Rowaphos for ages. But I must admit, I would try the NIOS one because anything that you can get, but you don't have to. Fair cop there, Steve. Fair cop.
Hey, I know. You know what? Hey, I'll take it on board. But I'll tell you what, yeah, next week they'll come back and they'll go, you know what? I tried that and it worked. You're right. You're exactly right. And you know what it is, mate? Why pay like 4, 5, 6 quid for a bag that does exactly what a 99 pence pair of tights does? You know what I mean? Trust me, it's a winner. That's all you got to do.
Well, people will come back next week and say, what size tights is the best?
Yeah. Hey, mate, you know what? If you know, it comes back to that point, doesn't it? Yeah. If it works, it works. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't need to change it and buy these super things and all that, because just get a pair of tights and shove the roll off in it. And as for, like you said, you shouldn't rinse it and stuff like that. I always rinse mine. It says you can't, obviously don't let it dry. You can't let it dry out because it's wet anyway, innit? You know, when you get it in the cup, it's wet. So like I said, I just rinse mine under the tap until it's completely running clear and there's no brown sludge thing. I mean, you imagine, listen, if I put that in my tank, the amount of stuff that would go in it after what you rinse. I mean, sometimes you're rinsing it for a minute and it's still coming out.
It does take some time to do, doesn't it? That's the frustrating thing, that you have to run it for quite a while just to get all the sediment out. But yeah, this guy's tank it just looked, the water was rusty and you could hardly see. You could hardly see anything. I don't think you lost anything, but it was just you thinking, oh my god, what's happened? Because usually if you have an outbreak of algae or you have a bacteria bloom or something like that, it's definitely not rusty. So he was having a complete flippy, as you can imagine on that one. And funny enough, Julie, the comment below, she's saying that she uses Fosgard. So Julie, do you use your tights? Bit of a personal question now. Do you use your tights in a reactor?
Hold on a minute before you answer that, Julie. What I do want to mention, which I never clarified, was these tights that I use are brand new. They're not like my missus that's been in the wash up. It's been washed with detergent and stuff. These are brand new tights. So what we've got to think about, is do not go upstairs now and get your missus's tights out the laundry, your laundry, and chop them up, because listen, they've been in the wash up. No comprende. You don't do it. Just buy some, get them done, and then get them put in. Just rinse them under tap water, and you're good to go. You know what I mean?
Steve, I had visions there. Do you remember Nora Batty?
Yes, I do.
Last sort of summer one. I was just thinking of Nora Batty and her tights. Those that are young, you're thinking, whoosh, what the bloody hell is he talking about? Hey, or if you're not in the UK, you think the same as well.
Listen, Ross, Ross with his plastic arms, the gloves and all that. That's his tip, my tip, tights. That's as good as you're gonna get. Mick Butler's just said exactly the same thing. Ross with his lambing gloves,
Yeah. So just go back to Black Pearl Reef. So do you want to just go back to that one? Because we was talking about the heat packs, and I didn't have a chance to read it. Yeah, so you got the idea, because in Texas, it was, I don't know, lost a lot. The electricity went out, and loads of people had their tanks crashed, didn't they? Because it's weird. You don't think of Texas as having snow, but it was, I can't remember, was it -10 or even -30 in Texas over the winter, which was unbelievable. So if they used it, I'm assuming they used it, it must have worked for some people. I know there was some really desperate people doing things. So there was a shortage of generators, there was a shortage of oil and gas and that as well, wasn't it? So a lot of people lost a lot of stuff.
You know what? When we think about like us as reefers, I mean, like we've not got like as big a community as what the Americans have got, but if you look at like us as like individuals and like as a community, over there, it's like we're very lucky, in one sense, because we don't have hurricanes or we don't have tornadoes, we don't have complete blackouts like what they do. You know what I mean? We don't have earthquakes. So for us, really, the only time we really have an issue is like if, say, for instance, the electric trips or something, or say they're doing work outside. You know what I mean? But then they let you know, don't they? So then you can plan ahead. For it. There's nothing worse than imagine like you said in America where they had a disaster and before you know it, you're not planned, you're not got everything in place, and then you've got thousands of dollars of coral and fish, and it's all going to get wiped out. You know what I mean? That must be heartbreaking, mate. You know what I mean? So
I've got a friend who lives over in California. They haven't got a tank or anything, but they're quite often getting power cuts and all kinds of things going on with with that. I just seen that comment by Michael Butler.
Yeah, so
Yes,
Julie says she buys them, and she says she finds the Foss guard is cleaner.
Yeah.
So yeah, listen. So she's in the same ballpark as me, mate. I tell you, Julie.
There we go.
Hey, tell you what.
Fair
Perfect.
play. So sorry, Steve, you was going to talk about St. Else. So you was talking about Roafoss, and then you went to move on to St. Else, and I stopped you. About the tank. You probably can't remember, can you?
Oh, was it about it being wet? Was it? Was that what?
No, you said about the Roafoss having to be wet.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Can't remember. Yeah, can't remember. Maybe it was like the Roafoss has to. It's got to stay wet on it. So like I said, when I do it, it's just like as long as it's wet and stuff like. I mean, you know what? Once actually, I've forgotten, and I put the Roafoss. It was dry. It went dry, yeah, and it was still in the tights, and I left it on the side. And I went, oh, I'll do it when I get in. You know, I'm only going shopping. And then what happened? Someone got distracted, and then he ended up going to the pub. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, sorry. And then when I come home late at night, it was dry. And I was like, do I risk it? You know what I mean? And then when I read up on things, people say, like, you know, it's not effective. It won't do this. It won't do that. So, and certain things can happen. And I was like, oh, but, you know, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I left it. So for me, when I take the Roafoss out, I rinse it under the tap, and that is it, mate. And then, like I said, I get 2 litres of water in a 2-litre jug. Dip it in just to get any silicates that could be potentially in the water and stuff. Just rinse it off and squeeze it with my hands like that and get it dried so it's like finger, and then I throw it in the reactor, mate. But as long as that Roafoss is wet and finger, and I shove it in the tights, it's perfect, mate. And I've never had an issue. Well, I can show you, like I said, you can see by me, my readings and stuff. You know what I mean? Dropping from 0.044 to 0.1. What is it now? 118. You know what I mean? Now 1718. So, like I said, I like to run mine at 0.07 to 0.11, and I found that to be the sweet spot. So I'm just trying to lower it down now. I'm going to check it tomorrow, and then what I'm going to do is if it keeps rising, then I'm just going to have to change it, because this is another thing. How long do you keep Roafoss in your tank for? Do you know what I mean? Some people say 2 weeks. Yeah. Some people say a month. Some people say a week. You know what I mean? So people have different opinions on when they change the Roafoss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So mine's usually only a temporary thing. So where I use no-pox, as you know, sometimes the phosphate still goes up a little bit. So I don't change the no-pox dose. I put Roafoss in for a little while. And so I leave it in there until it's back to where it needs to be, which is usually about 0.03 or something like that. And it usually takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get to that level. So I don't put a large amount in. What I know some people do, they use 2 reactors, and then they'll obviously half the dose in each one, and then they'll swap it over every 3 weeks or so, because what they found was there's still some left in the other in part of it. And then they'll swap it, so therefore it's not a shock. Because I've also seen people put too much Roafoss in it, and especially on SPS, they've suffered in some of the SPS strip. So I don't usually keep it in for very long, not because I think it's exhausted, but it's because I don't need it anymore. It'd be interesting to see what people's thoughts are around how often they change their Roafoss or Fossguard or whatever they use for phosphate control. So I must admit, I don't know.
Yeah, Practical Reefer, I think we just briefly touched onto this, and then we went on to Julie's, didn't we? But he's saying he was lucky that All Pond Solutions carbon he gets comes in the mesh bags anyway, which is decent, right? Yeah. I mean, the only All Pond solution I ever used was the not the skimmer, the filter, you know, on my nano tank. That was an All Pond solution. You know what I mean? And I think it was like 30 quid or something. And you know what? I mean, I was very new to like the hang on the back skimmers and the hang on the back, you know, return filters and stuff like that. But I tell you what, I'm well impressed with it, mate. And for the price of it, it did the job. You know what I mean? I think they're a fantastic piece of kit. And if you're limited for money, you're limited for space, things like that, yeah, then you know what, go all out for one of them, like those hang on the backs, because they're fantastic and great value, for money. I was well impressed with mine. I just put some media from the main display into my tank, and that is it, mate. You know what I mean? And it basically, obviously, the tank was basically cycled. You know what I mean? I didn't put a bit of bacteria in, and that was it. And it was up, like you said, 6 months, 7 months, whatever, before I sold it, and never had an issue with it. Never had an issue. In fact, the problem I had with it was growing too much, and I thought to myself, I'm gonna have to upgrade it and buy a bigger one. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. Not yet. Not just yet. But you know what? Maybe in the future, I might look at doing something different. Maybe in a clown and enemy tank. Maybe just that. Do you know what I mean? But it'd have to be a square, a square one. Maybe like a 170 or something, because clownfish are very territorial, aren't they? So you don't want them living on top of each other. You know what I mean? So I think I'll have to maybe do something like that. You know what I mean? It'll be interesting. But look who's just joined us.
I know, Mr. Ross.
Mr. Ross, the Bearded Reef. How's it going, Ross?
How was fishing today?
Yes. Hope you're having a good time, mate. Had a great time, mate.
Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying yourself, pal, and just chilling.
Yeah. Just one comment there. Julie, it sounds like she changes her Fosgard once a month.
Right. Yeah.
So how often do you switch yours over then, Steve?
Me? The Rollerfoss.
Yeah.
I don't use Rollerfoss until.
I thought you did.
No. And that's what I said to you. My reactor.
Sorry.
Yeah. I only use my reactor when my phosphates begin to rise.
Right. Yeah. So a bit like me. If it gets out of control, then you'll put it in until it comes down. So therefore you don't use it for that long.
Yeah, no, like I said, so it's switched. So my Rollerfoss, my reactor is switched onto my Apex. So all I do is I just switch it off doing it, by my Apex, yeah. But then, like I said, when things are going up, when things rises, yeah, like I said, 0.44, I was like, whoa. So then I shove Rollerfoss in it, then you see,
yeah,
and then obviously and when it gets back down to where I want it, then I just take it out, and then I just keep monitoring it then. But it's one of those ones where I don't really monitor it, like all the time. It's like alkalinity. I've got a machine that does that. Yeah.
Yeah.
As for the others, the salinity, I've got the pen, so I stick the pen in, and it tells me the temperature and the salinity as well. So really, other than the alkalinity and the salinity, I don't really test for anything. So I might even test. So I might leave it for like 2-3 weeks or so, and then think, you know what, I'll test for the phosphate, and then I realise then it's too late because the phosphate's climbing. Even though I don't see any detrimental effects to my tank.
Yeah, you want to get it on check.
I better get it down on check. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, and then I use it, but it's just one of those things. Ross has put quickly. Ross has just put, it was a good night, mate. Just heading home. Wanted to drop in. It's missed. You know what, mate? We missed you. You're like I said, a big part of this community, a big part of this channel, and you make it, mate. So yeah, well, you know what? You need that little bit of a break and a little bit of time away, you know what I mean? Just to do your own things, just to chill and just to relax with your family and stuff, mate. So, you know what? I'm sure you'll be back next week. So, yeah, definitely. It'd be great to see you, mate.
Yeah.
But going on to Reef, he's put, Steve, do you have an Aussie torch? Or are yours indoors debating getting an Aussie torch? But I hear they require, well, a long time ago, mate, a year and a half ago, I had an Aussie torch, and I've told it before this story. So I don't want to be a jack and order, but we'll talk about it briefly. And I did have an Aussie torch, and I put it where my torches are now. And what happened was it was the first first torch, colourful torch that I had in a tank. So when I put it in, the clownfish were like reacted to it straight away, and they were rubbing themselves, they were like irritating it, and they were just like, like being a pain in the butt with it. That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were just irritating it, mate. And they were acting as if it was like an enemy. So it just got irritated. And then all of a sudden, like, I had it for maybe 2 months. And then it started to curl up. And I was like, oh, right, I'm going to move it. So I moved it over to another part. But it never recovered, mate. And I found out since that they are very, very susceptible. Once they start getting peed off and they get fingered, then they just die. You know what I mean? So whereas, like, all the ones that I've got in my tank now, the Indo, the Holy Grail. I've got the Dragon Soul, and then I've got the green one as well. Now I've got that new purple one in. All of them, the clownfish rub on them. They think, and they don't do anything. They bang on. They don't do anything. They just like always staying out. That flow air, puff air. So, in my opinion, for the money you're going to pay, I would stay away from them. Just because they are temperamental, and I would go for an Indo. But like I said, mate, it's entirely down to you. It's your choice. But Indos are just as good. And even Dragon Souls. I love Dragon Soul torches. The colour of them are fantastic. So, to you, mate, you know what I mean? What do you think, Paul?
So I haven't had an Aussie torch. I don't think I have. I might have had, when you bought torches years ago, and I put one on Instagram earlier this week, one from, I had it nearly almost 7 years. And I haven't got a clue where that one's from, because then you didn't hear about, is it an Aussie torch? Is it an Indo torch? It was a green torch, and that was it. I must admit, I haven't come across that many Aussie torches when I've bought them. Most of them have been badged as Indo torches, and I've just bought those. And I've got to say, I found them, touch wood, to be really hardy. I have heard that they are more difficult, the Aussie ones, to look after. And I must admit, if I had a choice of the two, I would go Indo, for the simple reason I think it's easier to look after. But I haven't really had an experience like yourself of there's an Aussie one, there's an Indo. Did I find one easier than another? All I know is that if clowns take a liking and they want to host something, it usually doesn't end that well for that particular coral, with the exception of either a NEM or they're now hosting my Xenia, and Xenia don't care. They can do whatever they like to Xenia, and that's fine. So I'm actually okay with them hosting the Xenia, because I'm about to move one of my torches to a different spot. My only reason for doing that is that actually, will the clowns move about a foot to the left and start to hosting it? That's why I didn't put the frog spawn back in, because it'll end up all dying. So when you think about it, don't get a NEM. Everyone gets clownfish, but they're actually a pain.
Yeah,
they're not sociable animals. You put your hands in the tank, they'll bite you. The good thing is that they're a bit nutty, so they're nice to watch, and they're really, really hardy. But actually, as a community fish, I wouldn't say they're very good community fish in all honesty. But that goes away from the question. But I'd probably go with Indo. One, because they seem to be out there more, and everything else. There's 24K Aussie torch. I've heard about them. That's the next comment down.
That's the next biggest thing, I think. But I think, listen, I am not going to say now. Like there's a few corals that I want torches, and Black Pill Reef has hit a couple of them on the head for me. And one is a Hellfire and the New York Knicks. Those two, I think, would be the main. That will be it for my torch.
You got a complete set then, have you, Steve?
Yeah, I think that would be it. Other than an Aussie torch, but like you said, at £350 for a 24K Aussie torch, you know all that would be. That would just be a bit of a brighter, normal Aussie torch. That's what it would be, mate. You know what I mean? But they call it 24K. Listen, unless that torch is completely gold, as in gold, then it's not 24K. You know what I mean? In my opinion, so I would go for, like I said before, I would go for the Dragon Souls, which are fantastic, really, really good, and great value for money. Yeah, especially like because of what we're talking about, as in like the way torch corals are going. Torch corals have been on the up, for the last year or so, and the prices that you can get them for now is like really, really good. Compared to what they were. These do seem to be dropping a little bit. I think
they're dropping because there's more. What's happened is it's like a lot of things. Before there wasn't a demand there. I mean, people were looking for all of these. Now I'm not saying they're 10 a penny, because they're not. But if you wanted a gold torch, a dragon soul, those kind of ones, they're not as hard to find as they were. So therefore, people have got loads of them. They can't sell them for the prices. All of a sudden, the prices start edge down. They start to come down. And also now's a good time to buy. Over the summer, you've got people breaking down tanks, that kind of stuff. And LFS are not doing as well as they were pre-COVID, because one, you've got the summer, and not pre-COVID, before when we was in lockdown. So you got holidays and also coming out of lockdown as well. So it's not a bad time to buy that kind of stuff. But I must admit, I wouldn't go for the 24K at 350 if it's a more of a challenging one. I'd go for one of those others, to be fair.
Anything Australian that's with torches, mate. It's just wary. I'm just wary with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and it probably just boils down to me with having bad luck with mine. But you know, at the end, I mean, do I risk, or would I risk putting a 24 when I can get a Hellfire or New York Knicks? Now, New York Knicks looks very similar to a Holy. New York Knicks looks very similar to an Indo, in my opinion. You know what I mean? When I seen it, I was like, looks very similar to an Indo. You know what I mean? But I mean, the Hellfire is totally different. You know, so for me, I would go for the Holy a Hellfire. Yeah, definitely, I would have one of them. But when it comes to Australian golds, I don't know. I think I'd be reluctant in paying the money. And now, if they drop down to about 100 quid or something, then I'll risk it. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't pay £350 because I think you can get better. You know what I mean? In my opinion, but
yeah,
you know, I mean,
it's one of those
£350 for £350, boy. Yeah, you could buy a Holy Grail head. You know what I mean? You know when you look at it like that. So for me, get a Holy Grail head for 350 quid because they'll set you up. You know what I mean? I've got one in there now. It's got nearly 3 heads. You know, on it started. You know, it was one head, but it was starting to split into 2, and now it's like 3 heads near enough now. So for me, you could. You know, if it's about not making money, but you like in the future, if torches are going to still remain highly priced, then I would get a what do you call it, a Holy Grail. Plus, I believe that 24 like the Aussie torches, when you frag them, I believe like sometimes they can like sulk and there's not a very good survival. Now I don't know whether that's true.
Really?
My LFS guy told me that because he fragged a couple of them. And one of them got brown jelly disease, and he was like, "What in the hell?" And he only cut it off the colony. So I don't know. Suppose it's,
so Steve, for 350 quid, would you go for a Holy Grail or Rainbow Chalice?
Oh, you can't say this
because you've got both, right? So what would you? I know what I would go for.
I mean, that's a hard one. That. You know, I'm going to give you 2 answers to this, yeah? Now, the 2 answers are going to be very, very different, so this is why I'm saying it, yeah? Now, number one is the touch coddle, yeah? The Holy Grail is, like, stunning, as in, when it flows. There's nothing better in an aquarium with euphyllias and stuff like that. The way
you've got the flow, haven't you?
Yeah, the flow is like beautiful, and they just look incredible. You know what I mean? Once the polyps are fully extended, then it's just like, and they're just out. There's nothing better, in my opinion, with that. Yeah. Now we come on to the second part. Yeah, which is the rainbow chalice. Now the rainbow chalice is like on another planet with color. Yeah, I will see if I can take a photo of mine now, and now it starts to spread onto the frag plug. I could only see like oranges, but when I take a top down shot, you can see orange, you can see green, you can see a little bit of red, you can see and it's like, it just looks something out of like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you know, the everlasting gobstoppers.
Yeah.
But you asked me the question, what would I have? And the answer to that is the Rainbow Chalice. I would have that. If I had 350 quid, I would buy that because I think once that grows over the frag plug, it'll just look absolutely incredible, mate. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why I'd have it. And it'll just be like total, it's a mixture of colours. You know what I mean? It's not just one colour, it's a mixture of colours. So that's why I think I'd go for it.
Definitely. And I think you know my answer. I'd go chalice. I'd go rainbow. I love rainbow chalice. I like chalice anyway. It's my favourite colour, as you know. And rainbow chalice, I just love, to your point, the colours, the variation, the fact that you can get yellow and it will stay yellow. Whereas we've had a joke about Pikachus and stuff like that. And sometimes it will go and it will come back as it morphs out, but you've got a really good chance of getting yellow on a rainbow chalice and it's sticking at yellow as it grows out, which is probably one of the rarest colours to get in a tank. I think yellow, to be fair. And I just love them. And also they're fairly hardy as well. You can have real problems with your tank and your chalice will come through. Whereas I mean, to be fair, torches I found quite hardy, but some people, I mean, Julie's put on there she's having problems keeping her torches. So I don't know what the problem is, Julie. If you wanna share on that one, I must admit, I get the odd one where it loses a head, but then other heads grow back. It's just part of it that things die and other things come back, don't they? So I don't worry about if I lose a head because I just put it down to that's happened and another one will grow.
Well, if you remember, God, what months and months ago when I had my Dragon Soul, I had my Dragon Soul in my main tank, didn't I? But I was running high DKH then, so I was running like 10.5, 10.6 DKH in it at the time, And when I put it in, it opened for the first day or so, and then it just like was curled up all the time. And then thankfully I had my frag tank. So when I put it in my frag tank, I was dosing that Orpha Reef. The Orpha Reef sets it at 8.6, So I thought to myself, well, you know what? Maybe it just must be the alkalinity. So now I've reduced my alkalinity on my main display tank, and I've sold my Nano. My main display tank runs at 9.3, 9.5, And since I put it in there, it's never looked better, mate. The flow on it, the polyp extension is like incredible. So I think that certain torch corals don't like high alk. If you run high alk or maybe low alk, I don't think I think certain ones just sulk and it just can't take to it. You know what I mean?
It might have been where it come from, because if it would have been lower and all this going to yours, and it's a bit like if you look at Julie's, the last comment on here, she's put I bought one from a fellow reefer. You can see it on there, grown lovely. Bought one online and it's dying. So there's a couple of things. One, it could be completely different parameters you've got. It could also be that the person cut it, didn't cut it very well, hasn't let it settle, so it's stressed out. If that's that person's then put that in, I'm not saying I have, I'm just kind of making an assumption now or a possibility. They've then stuck it in the post to you, then it's stressed out as well. So it could be it will come back, but quite often if you can see the skeleton on a torch, sometimes they come back, but quite often it's game over once you've seen that.
You see, you know what I do, Paul? I don't know about yourself, but if I'm back, I mean, you buy from AAC, don't you, a lot? So that's your go-to. That's your go-to thing. And I do have my go-to guy, my LFS, good friend of mine. So I do tend to go to him. But I do go to Cracking Corals, Dom, great friend as well. So and he sorts me out, you know what I mean? So like with certain things, but I always ask the question all the time, what do you run your alkalinity at? What do you run your calcium at? I always ask that question, no matter where I go, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I'll just say, oh, what's your parameters in the tank? You know, and they'll tell me, you know what I mean? 10 times out of 10, they'll just say, oh yeah, it runs at about 9.5, whatever, blah, blah. But that one time when I bought that Dragon Soul, and I bought it, and I never asked the question, you know what I mean? And now I think to myself, that's the reason. But I never asked the question. If I'd have known it runs at 9, then I think, oh well, it might not
have done it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But so for me, and if pass on a little bit of thing is just to ask. If you ask whatever it is, whether you're buying it from a private dealer or you're buying it from an LFS or someone on eBay, YouTube, wherever, just ask them what your parameters are, what do you run them at, you know what I mean? What's your salinity, etc. And then it makes your life easier then. And then you think to yourself, well, that guy's salinity was running at this, or this guy's calcium was running, it might have something to do with my calcium. And then you can always take things off, you know, from that sense.
No, I think it's a fair point. And Neil Smith makes a couple of good points here. One around he avoids buying online, especially Euphilia. I must admit, I don't know, would I buy Euphilia online? I'm not too sure. Maybe because they're so expensive, I probably wouldn't. And then he's put on there about the heat pack fails, goodbye torch. We had that conversation earlier on about heat packs, about one failing, and secondly, actually being too close to some corals, it can make it overheat and they'll just strip, especially SPS. But I mean, Julie, sounds like, you know, your salinity stable, alk 8.5, nitrate 5, phosphate. That looks bang on. It could be, but you think about when you frag something, it does really get stressed because it comes out of water, and you know, people chunking them up, basically carving them up. That's what you're doing. If that is not let to settle, and then you stick it in the post, there's probably a good chance it ain't going to be a happy bunny, and then it's going to bow, isn't it? So it could be that.
I mean, like with where my LFS is, all the time, if they frag, especially your Euphilias, and they've got like Holy Grail torches, £500, £400 a head and stuff like that. Yeah, if they flag those sort of things, they always leave them to sell for 3 to 4 weeks. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, and just to make sure, before they sell it to you, you know what I mean? And they dip it, they do, the iodine dip, just to make sure that risk of any infections, just to cut that thing out. Yeah, and like you said before, you don't know. You don't know what people's procedures are, where you're getting them from, whether they just cut it, glued it, and then send it out to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
absolutely, and it's that's what I like about Prestige Reef. I haven't bought from him. I know Jay speaks highly of him, but if you look at his videos, he does. Obviously, you do chop things up because that's what you do when you frag. But if you look about how long he waits for things to base out, they're not newly cut things, and so therefore you've got someone there that takes care of those corals and makes sure they're in a good condition before they ship them. So therefore you've got a good chance of it happening. But for sure, do you know what? So go on, Steve.
No, go on, Paul.
I was going to say I find it harder to post in warmer weather than colder because I never know at what point when to put a heat pack in or not. Because it could be like 25, 26 degrees during the day, and you think I don't want to put a heat pack in. But then you go some places and the temperature goes down to 19 degrees overnight. So I do look at the place where I'm sending it to, and I look and say, right, what's the temperature during the day? And what's it like in the evening? So I'd rather send in the winter unless there's snow on the ground than actually in the summer when I'm thinking, do I put a heat pack in or not?
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what, Steve? We're out of time, and Julie hasn't reminded. Julie, you were overrun because you haven't reminded us.
We're sacking you off, Julie. You're sacked.
So thanks for watching, everyone. It's really apologies at the beginning that my Wi-Fi didn't work when I was doing a tank tour, so apologies about that. We are over on my channel next week, and we might have a giveaway, so watch this space. And if we do, it will be a giveaway that's 3 digits, but we'll see.
Ooh,
not the volume, but the value. If we do.
Yeah. No, like you said, mate, I echo your words there, Paul. Yeah, thanks for joining. Like I said, we always have the usual crew, and it's great. You know what I mean? A bit of banter, it's good fun, it's a laugh, and we voice our opinions out over the week what we've had. So yeah, wishing you all a happy weekend and a safe weekend, and obviously a bank holiday weekend. So hopefully the weather stays good wherever you are. And like I said, join you on Paul's channel next week.
Yeah, thanks, Friday. Guys. Thanks for watching.
Great. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you
Have a good one.
Cheers. Thank you.